You know that picture we all have in our heads of what a genius is supposed to look like? Probably some wild-haired professor scribbling equations on a chalkboard, right? Well, what if I told you that whole picture is probably wrong? Today, we're diving deep into the psychology of what it actually means to have a high IQ mind. And trust me, the real signs are way more subtle and way more surprising than you think. So just for a second, what do you picture? When you think of someone who's exceptionally brilliant, what do you see? Is it the person in the room who's the loudest? The one who always has to have the answer? Or is it something else entirely? Something quieter? And that's exactly where it gets so interesting. See, psychological research shows that true, genuine intelligence doesn't really need to make a big announcement. It's not a performance. It shows up in these quiet, subtle little habits, patterns that you might not connect with being brilliant at all. It has so much less to do with the volume of facts you know and everything to do with how your brain actually works. Because here's the thing, the real work, the absolute hardest part of growing intellectually, it isn't admitting you were wrong about some fact. No, it's about being able to look at the very way you think and realizing it might have blind spots. Real intelligence isn't measured by what you know right now. It's revealed in how you react when you find out you don't know it all.
Okay, so let's get into it. To really understand what a flexible, curious mind looks like, we first have to talk about what it's not. We've got to spot the patterns that can kind of masquerade as intelligence, but in reality, they're holding us back. These are the telltale signs of a more rigid, closed-off way of thinking.
Now look, this list isn't about judging anybody or calling them dumb. Not at all. A better way to see these is to think of each one as a closed door in the mind. Each one is a habit that mistakes feeling confident for actually being correct, and mistakes being stubborn for having conviction. And ultimately, they just put a ceiling on how much you can learn. Let's just zoom in on that first sign for a second. That nagging feeling that you're probably right. Well, psychology actually has a name for this. It's called the overconfidence bias, and it is a wild paradox. Basically, when you only have a shallow understanding of a topic, your brain literally can't see all the stuff it's missing. So it takes the little bit it knows and rewards you with a super powerful but totally misleading feeling of certainty. And this just lays it out so perfectly. When you have a low understanding of something, certainty feels loud and clear. But when you have a deep understanding, you can see the whole, massive, complex landscape of what you don't know. It's why truly intelligent people often carry this kind of quiet, persistent doubt with them. It's not a doubt that stops them. It's a doubt that keeps the door open to learning more. And what about that second one, avoiding changing your mind? Well, that happens when we wrap our ideas up with our identity. So when an idea is challenged, it feels like we're being challenged. The smartest people, though, they get that a belief isn't who you are, it's just a tool. It's a model of reality. And if they get new evidence, they update the model. Holding on to a bad idea just to protect your ego doesn't make you smart, it just makes you stuck.
Oh, and that third sign, oversimplification, that's such a dead giveaway. You hear absolute words like always, never, or someone says, oh, it's simple. A lot of the time, that's just a mental shortcut to avoid the hard work of really thinking. Real intelligence doesn't run from complexity. It has the patience to sit with it, to wrestle with it, until a real understanding emerges.
Okay, so if those are the signs of a mind that's kind of locked down, what are the habits of a mind that's truly open, alive, and, yeah, brilliant? This is where we make the shift from the illusion of intelligence to what it really, truly is. So let's move on and see what this actually looks like in the real world. We're going to explore the common habits of people with really high IQs. And what's wild is how often these habits get misinterpreted, but they're really just markers of a mind that's always on, always processing, and always learning. You know, what's so fascinating about this list is how many of these things are seen as, well, a little weird in our culture, right? Spending a lot of time alone, that can look antisocial. Talking to yourself, people might give you a funny look. But each one of these is actually a sign of a brain that's working on a really high level. For instance, talking to yourself, psychologists call it self-directed speech, is an amazing tool the brain uses to organize its thoughts.
Let's take that whole spending time alone thing. There was this incredible study from the London School of Economics that found that for highly intelligent people, their life satisfaction can actually go down by about 4% the more they socialize. It's not that they don't like people. It's just that their minds are so active, they absolutely crave that quiet, uninterrupted time to chase ideas and connect the dots.
And really, when you boil it all down, at the heart of almost all these habits is one powerful force: curiosity. You should think of it like a mental engine that just never, ever turns off.
And this isn't about asking big philosophical questions all the time. It's a deep-seated drive to ask why and how about, well, everything. Their brains are just constantly, automatically looking for patterns. So when you put these two mindsets side by side, the contrast is it's night and day. The rigid mind sees changing its opinion as losing an argument. The curious mind sees it as upgrading its mental software. The rigid mind is terrified of admitting ignorance, but the curious mind knows that saying, "I don't know," is the first step to all real learning. One points fingers, the other looks inward. It's a totally different way of being. And all of this brings us to the final, and I think the most crucial idea here. The key to growing intellectually, it isn't some fixed trait you're born with, like your eye color. It's a dynamic process. It's a conscious choice in how you engage with the world, and even more importantly, how you engage with your own mind. And look, if you only take one single thing away from this whole conversation today, please let it be this. The most dangerous thought you can have isn't, "I don't know enough." The truly dangerous one is, "I already know enough." Because the second that thought settles in and goes unquestioned, that's the exact moment real growth stops dead in its tracks. Certainty is where learning goes to die. Because in the end, true intelligence is not a performance. It's not about winning debates or appearing smart in a meeting. It is about intellectual humility. It's about having the courage to be uncertain, to always be the student, and, maybe most importantly of all, having the courage to be wrong. So I'll leave you with the question to think about. Which one of those closed doors, that overconfidence, that rigidity, that urge to oversimplify, might you recognize in your own thinking? And what new, incredible possibility might be waiting on the other side if you were to just crack it open?